Hello, this is Miss Lori with the November Quadrant PowerPoint presentation. And there are a few rules that we're going to go by. November, the rules and regulations of the Rayfield program, being familiar with them and following the rules and the consequences of not following. And then there's some information about abuse and neglect and sexual abuse. November PowerPoint presentation. The rules, if you are at Rayfield, you are supposed to get breakfast, a snack, lunch, a snack, and if you were here spending the night, and if we had students that stayed here on campus, they get dinner, a snack, bedtime, a cleanup shower, and bedtime. Residents are responsible to pick up after themselves and put away any dirty things, will help if needed, and will take a bath as necessary with help as needed. Bathrooms should be left as clean as possible. The Rayfield literacy staff will provide all heavy cleaning as needed. Trash and other garbage should not be thrown in the yard, but placed in the garbage cans provided. Smoking is not allowed in the building, not even on the front porch. Smoking will be allowed in the designated area outside where containers will be provided as ashtrays. Drugs and alcohol. Drugs and alcohol are not allowed in and around Rayfield Family Literacy. Violation of this rule might be grounds for termination of the contract at the discretion of Rayfield Family Literacy Management. Food or drinks. Food and drinks are not allowed in any of the rooms unless by the special arrangement with staff. In between meals, snacking within 1 hour of dismissal is encouraged, but every 3 hours is encouraged. Telephone calls. The telephone is available for reasonable, frequent, brief calls. Long-distance calls must be approved by staff and must be paid for by the student. Calls will be judged by frequency. Unless by emergency, no calls should be made on or received after 9 p.m. If you have a cell phone, you can use your cell phone. Residents are requested to limit the use of this cell phone. Transportation. Residents who have to travel by TOPS should be ready at least 1 hour in advance. Personal property. Use of personal property. Residents are allowed some personal property items. Residents are responsible for maintaining their personal items. The facility will ensure the security of any personal items contained on the property. Residents are to respect all personal property of others. Visiting hours from 9 to 8. Family and friends who wish to come and visit must go through the front office. Respect. Residents are expected to be considerate of other residents, personnel, and visitors. Verbal or physical abuse will not be tolerated and will be just called for discharging the resident. Television and radios, including those personal, are not to be played loudly. Please keep the volume of radios and TVs down during class time. This is a wheel of abuse. Coercion and threats are physical abuse. Threatening to hurt a person, withhold basic support and rights, terminate relationships and leave the person unattended, report non-compliance with the program, use more intrusive equipment, using consequences and punishment to gain compliant behavior, pressuring the person to engage in fraud or other crimes. Intimidation is mental, raising a hand or other looks, actions, gestures to create fear, destroying property and abusing pets, mistreating service animals, displaying weapons. Emotional abuse, punishing or ridiculing, refusing to speak and ignoring requests, ridiculing the person's culture, traditions, religions, and personal tastes, enforcing a negative reinforcement program or any behavior program the person doesn't consent to. Isolation, controlling access to friends, family, and neighbors, controlling access to phone, TV, news, limiting employment possibilities because of the caregiver's schedule, discouraging contact with the case manager or an advocate. Minimize, justify, and blame. Denying or making light of abuse, denying physical and emotional pain of people with disabilities, justifying rules that limit autonomy, dignity, and relationships for programs' operational efficiency, excusing abuse as a behavior management or caregiver stress, blaming the disability for abuse, saying the person is not a good reporter of the abuse, withhold misuse or daily needed supports, using medication to sedate the person for agency convenience, ignoring equipment safety requirements, breaking or not fixing adaptive equipment, refusing to use or destroying communication devices, withdrawing care or equipment to immobilize the person, using equipment to torture people. Economic abuse, using person's property and money for staff's benefit, stealing, using property or money as a reward or punishment in a behavior program, making financial decisions based on agency or family needs, limiting access to financial information and resources resulting in unnecessary impoverishment. Caregiver privilege, treating the person as a child, servant, making unilateral decisions, defining narrow limiting roles and responsibilities, providing care in a way to accentuate the person's dependence and vulnerability, giving an option, as it were, the person's opinion, denying the right to privacy, ignoring, discouraging, or prohibiting the exercise of full capabilities. That is an abuse of power and control by the caregiver. So if you have any of these complaints, you need to file a grievance. As you can see, this person is very upset because they have been mistreated. They need to file a grievance. And if someone touches you and they shouldn't touch you, and they perpetrate a sexual overture on you, because rape is never the victim's fault. If not, if she was drunk, not if she was naked, not if she was wearing a miniskirt or a veil, not if she was a sex worker, not if the authorities didn't believe her, not if she was queer, not if she was a woman of color, not if she was seeking asylum, not if she was your partner, not if she was disabled, not if the victim was male. That's something that you can't do. You should not isolate people to make them feel bullied. Is it happening to you? Don't suffer in silence. Tell someone you can trust. What is verbal abuse? Verbal abuse is yelling, screaming, insults, mocking, sarcastic comments, intimidation, threats, disregard for feelings, cursing, swearing, manipulating words, name-calling, negative criticism, Verbal abuse usually leads to emotional abuse or is used in combination with verbal abuse. What if people said these things to you? You can't do anything right. I hate you. You're stupid. You're not good enough. You are ugly. You are a dummy. You are an idiot. You're not pretty. You're disgusting. You are trash. Those are things that people say that are verbal abuse. How to report abuse, neglect, or exploitation. The Department of Children and Families operates the Florida Abuse Hotline and is the state agency responsible for receiving and investigating allegations of abuse, neglect, or exploitation of children and adults with developmental disabilities committed by their caregivers. If you know or suspect abuse, neglect, or exploitation, call the Abuse Hotline, which is a nationwide toll-free telephone number at 1-800-96-ABUSE, or send a fax statement to the Abuse Hotline statewide toll-free fax number 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at 1-800-914-0004. You have the right to call the Florida Abuse Hotline at any time. Here's the hotline number again. Let's review. Abuse, sexual harassment, domestic violence, neglect, exploitation, registry phone number, where this number is posted, building, and ombudsman. That's who you would call if you needed help. Your trusted person. So there we are. We have gone through November's PowerPoint. Please sign the signature page that'll be going around to show that you have seen it. Thank you and have a great day. Have a wonderful Rayfield day.